A couple of years ago, gaming used to be the epitome of all kinds of trouble. A parent felt like their child ignored them, must be gaming. A kid flunked his exam, you guessed it, video games it is. But that's not the case anymore. People are now coming up with all the ways gaming has changed their lives. Let's take a look. First up, a love rekindled thanks to It Takes Two. With Gen Z adapting to gaming faster than any other generation, it's also very common for kids from this generation to fall in love virtually. However, there's one love story that caught our attention, as it wasn't from the Gen Z pool, and this love story sparked thanks to the famous game It Takes Two. While It Takes Two may be the most complex multiplayer game of all time, it was pretty easy for this couple to rekindle their love through it. Simply said, it's a co-op adventure and requires the collaboration of two people. Before we go into the details of what happened, let us give you a very brief outline of what the game's about and what it did for them. The storyline of the game begins with a divorce between two parents. Their small daughter wishes they would remain together by making dolls out of them, and the pair ends up becoming the dolls. Eventually, they'll have to cooperate to get back to where they were before they were lost. For the gamer Stephanie Miner, this was the most fascinating video game she had ever played, because she had played a lot of video games. The reason why this game fascinated her even more was because she knew it was the key to rekindling her broken marriage. Her marriage was in chaos at the time she was playing the game. To rekindle the love between herself and her husband, Stephanie came up with the idea to play It Takes Two together to strengthen their relationship. The two had agreed to work on their relationship, and this was the most fun way to go about it. The game's message resonated with them, and the gameplay required them to cooperate and interact with one another to advance. In addition, Miner said the game had made her giggle and lifted her spirits, both of which she said she hadn't experienced in a long time. What's more, their marriage was rescued by more than just relying on It Takes Two. For them, it was a means of rekindling their love for one another. Now, wasn't that super adorable? We thought so too. Wait till you hear how a gamer's life turned 360 degrees thanks to Animal Crossing. Stay tuned, y'all. Next, we have life lessons learnt through Tales of Symphonia. When it comes to an understanding of the intricate concepts of discrimination, systematic tyranny, and more, a lot of us tend into getting to a learning phase pretty late in life. However, fortunately for this gamer, the learning curve came earlier than expected, and that too with the help of a video game. Sounds surreal? Well, this is how it went down for her. Games have a profound impact on people's life, just by exposing them to new ideas, and this game did exactly that. Tales of Symphonia was a game that did precisely that for at least one individual when they were pretty young. Discrimination, persecution, systematic tyranny, reverse discrimination, and the sacrifice of one community for the sake of another were among the issues that Megumi Yamamoto learned about in the game, she said on Quora. Those weren't typical middle school topics, and Yamamoto believed that the game's focus on real-world situations helped her out in the long run. But on a side note, how cool would it be if adults could realize the positive impact gaming has on kids these days? For the first time ever, Yamamoto felt empathy for the primary antagonist in Tales of Symphonia. In retrospect, Yamamoto was fortunate enough to have done this for the first time when she was so young. The film, Tales of Symphonia, was a critical and popular success among many people such as Yamamoto, and now we know why. According to Game Chronicles, the game had tons of narrative lines, plot twists, and startling disclosures, creating an incredibly addictive game that could impart new life lessons along the way, making it one of the best. Go ahead and try the game yourself and let us know your thoughts. And now, for the wonders of Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing has everything from making friends to building towns and growing crops. But if you think that's all this game has to offer, we've got some news. Animal Crossing has been a popular series since its debut on GameCube. It was such a hit that it was later released on the DS, 3DS, and Nintendo Switch, and has done well all over. But what about the game has made it such a hit? It turns out that this game is why a player out there could find spark in their life again. By playing Animal Crossing New Leaf on 3DS, YouTube user Boldly Wired overcame not just anything but his battle with depression. The first thing to know is that depression isn't simply being sad and joyful, as Boldly Wired explains in the introduction. Things have been pretty bad for him, but his main complaint was that he couldn't get himself to do things he would do regularly. Just regular chores, like making up his bed or getting all 3 meals, but Animal Crossing gave him a purpose. It offered him things to do in life and stuff he could look forward to every day. There was always something for him to do, whether it was collecting necessities or building friendships with the creatures in his community. While life may be horrible, the game provided a decent balance and showed him that he had a purpose. After Animal Crossing, his life was a little good, a bit bad. This was especially noteworthy since life can be usually bad for those suffering from depression, the game eventually was the reason Boldly Wired overcame his lowest points. It also provided him the confidence to apply what he learned in the game to the real world. Learning from the art of networking to boosting his morale, it was more than just a game for him. For him, Animal Crossing let him put his life back on track and allowed him to put down the game and change the direction of his life. Next up, Last of Us helped us get this player over his gaming addiction. Usually, we've heard a lot about players drowning in gaming addictions. Pale skin and obsession with 2D characters is something very common. The same was the case for this gamer until life changed 360 degrees thanks to The Last of Us. One would think that considering how hooking Last of Us is, usually a person would get even more absorbed in the game, but that wasn't the case for this YouTuber. The Last of Us was able to help YouTuber Downward Thrust break his gaming habit, as he said in a recent video. It all began with telling the story of how he'd been addicted to video games for so long that he lost everything, including his money, house, friends, and fiance. Like, come on. All of us know someone who has their head bent down as they viciously jab at their devices, and we all know how frustrating it can be. And that's precisely what happened for this gamer. People distanced themselves from him, and because of games, he was alone at the lowest point in his life. However, here's the ironic part. Because of The Last of Us, he started lifting himself out of the addiction. Last of Us helped him understand that he really can't live his life as he had been, spending all his time alone in a dark room, playing video games all day, every day. After playing the game, he realized he had a deep need for human connection, as shown by the game's two protagonists. One of the key characters, Joel, was able to assist himself and combat his inner demons with the support of Ellie, and the two working together helped Joel survive difficult moments. After seeing it in a video game, he was inspired to do the same. We love it for him. For Downward Thrust, Last of Us was all he needed to lift himself out of despair. And finally, we have acing the dynamics of sports, thanks to gaming. A very common dilemma raised by parents of gamers is that their kids spent so much time indoors on their games that they wouldn't even know how to catch a ball. That's exactly how life started out for this now NFL fanatic. In his own words, he wasn't really a passionate sports nut. He did play some sports here and there, but he was very open to saying that he pretty much sucked at it, having no athletic prowess. To make matters worse, things got pretty bad for him when he went to college and couldn't go to the matches only because he would be scratching his head, having no idea what was going on. However, it all became a lot easier for him on the field when he started playing Madden football. To get a better gist of the game, he played lots of Madden NFL. He could finally appreciate the greatness of the sport when he attended Baylor football matches. And the best part was that he could understand every move made by the players. That's a wrap for this video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.